Hi, my name is Regina Au, and I'm principal of Biomarketing Insight, and basically what I do is new product planning for the life sciences. So that would include pharma, biotech, medical device, diagnostics, and basically what I try to do is bring commercialization early into product development to de-risk it from the business side. So what do I mean by that? So you don't want to build a product and find out the market is very small because you just spent a lot of money and time building a product and find out the market is not large enough or it doesn't meet the goals of the company. Or you don't want to find out that, people say, well, that's nice to have, but I really don't need it. Or, since this is the life sciences, most people are covered under insurance, where the insurance payers are saying, no, we're not going to cover it. So coming in early in product development helps to de-risk that and find out what the stakeholders need, and there's 7 stakeholders in the life sciences that you must satisfy in order for your product to be available, or what we call market access. So there's a physician, there's a patient, there's other healthcare professionals, you have the payers, you have regulatory, you have the government. Since now, you probably heard in the news, the government's getting very involved in terms of drug pricing. And you have the advocacy groups who seem to have more influence in terms of maybe legislation. But what do I mean by coming in very early? People have asked me, well, how early do you come in terms of de-risking the process from a business point of view? So in terms of pharma biotech, which can be small molecule or large molecule or biologics, I can come in as early as basic research. And what do I do in basic research is really finding out where is there an unmet medical need. But not only is there defining what the unmet medical need is, you want to find out how critical of an unmet need that is. So if you think of a pain scale from 0 to 10, where, or I should say 1 to 10, where 1 is, if you think of the emoji of the pain scale, they still have a smiley face. If you're thinking about 10, of course the smiley face is no longer smiling, you have tears coming down your eyes. That is where the pain is the most in terms of painful, and that's where you want to spend your time. So anything from a 7 all the way down to a 1 is what we call a nice to have, where there are other things on the market, and people may say, well, that's nice, but I'm satisfied with the products that I have already. But if you're in the 8, 9, and 10, where I'm saying it's no longer smiley face and you have tears coming down your eyes, then they're ready to, what we marketers call, they're ready to buy. They're looking for a product. They want your product. They want you to, come out with your product so they'll be able to use it. Now, in addition to defining whether it's a critical unmet need, which is the place you want to actually focus on versus a nice to have, you also want to look at in terms of what is the market potential. And depending on, again, the unmet medical need, where you come in terms of the treatment plan, that will define in terms of how many people feel that way. Because what you don't want is for maybe, say, only 500 people to feel that way. It's pretty much not a big enough market, but you want the masses. So if you think of a distribution curve, you want that middle of the distribution curve, which is like 70%. And the way to do that is really talking to your customers and getting feedback. So when I mention in terms of stakeholders, it's really talking to all those stakeholders and finding out what their needs are so that you are able to actually bring out the product and have it available to your patient or to the patient so that they can use it. So it's a little complicated in terms of getting it that way, but if you think about it early, and some people say, wow, why am I thinking about it, say like for payers in terms of reimbursement? Why am I thinking so early in the product development process? So with payers, what they want to see is that not only is your product better, because why would they pay for it if it's not better when there's other products on the market, or if they are going to pay for it, the question is, what is the value that you bring? What are you going to be able to do in terms of making that patient better than what the current products are in the market? But in order to do that, what the payers are looking at is, how are you going to save them money both short-term and long-term? And if you're going to save them on a long-term basis, of course they want data, right? So you have to say, well, why should we use your product? What is the value? And if you are going to actually gather long-term data, you have to build it into your clinical trials, which includes phase 1, and also if you file an IND, you're going to have to say what the clinical trial designs are. So if you start early, you start thinking about it, you start strategizing about it. You can always change it, since with pharma and biotech, it takes a while. For those who may not know, it takes 10 to 15 years to develop a product, and on average, the industry spends about $2.6 billion. So it's a long time, it's a lot of money, so you want to make sure that you're going down the right path. But in addition to that, again, you want to build into your clinical trial, you want to gather all that data, you can always change it in terms of, minor tweaks, but you're gathering the data from the beginning, and that's what the payers want. Now, in terms of the physicians and patients, of course, they have their needs, right? And if it's not easy to use, or they're taking it too many times, or they forget to take their medication, that can affect in terms of patient compliance. So there's a lot of things that can affect in terms of what you need to meet the needs of your stakeholders, which can also affect in terms of what the product is going to look like. So if you remember, I said that we come in as far as basic research. Where we also come in is really, once you have a lead candidate, you still have to develop it to a target product profile. That target product profile is your commercial profile. It pretty much dictates what is the minimum required that you need to be able to compete in the market, and of course you have to be better. So that's just sort of touching upon it. For medical devices, we talk about coming in concept, because what you don't want is to build a product, get it out on the market, to test market. If someone should test it and not like it, as the old saying goes, the first impression is the lasting impression. So if they don't like it the first time, no matter how perfect the product is that you do, in terms of revising it or development, they will never use your product. So it's always good to start early, think about it, get all your ducks in a row, find out what people want, because they're going to, or their needs, that's going to influence how your product looks in terms of the product specification. So those are just a few things to think about. Of course, I could go on forever, but I just wanted to give you a taste in terms of what I do. So for anyone who is developing a product, whether it's pharma, biotech, medical device, everybody has to go through the same thing. But if you start early, you can de-risk the process, at least from the business end. And what I tell people is, yes, you need the science. Science is very important, because if you don't have the science or the technology, you don't have a product. But in order for a company to be successful, you need both the science as well as the business together to be successful. So I hope that gives you a little insight in terms of what I do and why we do these things. And I guess if you have any questions, you can always contact me. So you can either email me at regina@biomarketinginsight, and that's all one word, and insight is insight.com, or you can give me a call at 781-935-1462. So I hope to hear from you and meet you. Thank you. Bye-bye.